again, hope you'll share these things. We want to get the message of God out to different folks. We've been talking about the call of God upon your life. Last time we talked about answering the call. Need folks to answer the call. Hopefully God is speaking to some of you. Maybe God is calling you to different things, but we need ordained pastors. We need people to take up that call. I want to talk to you today about answering not just the call, but preparing for the call. Many folks, God called me. Well, and then what they do, well, you know what, I've got a screen and a guitar and we've got a bass player so we can start a church. No, that's not how it works. You need to prepare for ministry. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people say, well, you know, God called me, not the cemetery, me in the seminary. I'm sorry. So, you want somebody who has some knowledge, who has done some study, who has taken some time. I want to walk you through a couple things. Remember that the disciples sat at the feet of Jesus for 3 years preparing. No greater seminary education could you receive than to sit at the master's feet of Jesus for 3 years, learning and growing in him. And then Jesus was willing to send them out, under the tutelage of the Holy Spirit. There were also disciples of the disciples. Do you know that John and others who wrote the Gospels, there was a community for each one of these, and there were people who learned under their tutelage and studied under them. The Apostle Paul himself, he would have doctorates lining the wall, but it says that he was driven into the wilderness and taught by revelation of the Spirit for 3 years. There is something about learning and growing and taking time to grow and get knowledge of God. Many people are not willing to do it, and I wouldn't want that for my pastor. There are things like pastoral care. When you're walking into the room with somebody who may be dying, or somebody there's been somebody that has died, you better know what you're doing, because you can really mess some things up very quickly. Somebody comes to you for advice, you better have had a little bit of training in counseling and psychoanalysis and therapy, because you don't know what you're going to do. You could shipwreck that person. There are a lot of good intentioned people who have gone out and they have made shipwreck of many people's faiths because they have not received the training and the education. You need at the very least to get a degree, a Master of Divinity degree from an accredited seminary or university setting somewhere where you can at least learn systematic theology, church history, language, pastoral care, how to counsel, how to do different things. There's things you learn. And there's and you can take some electives and you can learn a lot of great stuff. But we don't need to put our eternal destiny in the hands of unlearned people. Even Paul, talking in the pastoral epistle, says it's not for a novice. Not for a novice. You need to learn something and grow in something. Just as I would not go to a surgeon who somebody just told me, oh yeah, he just cuts people open and does it. Didn't have any training. I want to know my doctor has had some training on something. Just because you've seen it done a couple of times doesn't mean you know how to do it. If you think that'll work, I'll go watch a brain surgeon work, and hey, I got a rusty saw and a few things and a hammer. I'll be happy. Save you a lot of money on your brain surgery, but probably not going to turn out the way you want it. You need to have some training. You need to understand it, but people need to be willing to prepare themselves, take the time, and to put themselves under the tutelage of others and to learn and to grow, because you cannot be a leader unless you're willing to follow first. Pray today that if God is calling you, that you will answer that call, but you also prepare.